Hello and welcome to another episode of Dave Trippin', Dave Sits in the Car edition. I was thinking about this today and it's come up a few times with friends recently, the topic of Japanese service, because I'm talking about service standards in Canada and stuff like that, and little nuances, tipping culture, things like that, and it really is totally different here on some really basic levels and then some real backwards ways as well. And I thought I'd talk about this, take this special time in this special little K-car to discuss this issue. And it's really cool. It's really cool. Well, parts of it are. So let's start with the good and the bad. Let's start with the good. So Japanese service is basically better than any service in the world that I've experienced. I've not traveled to like every continent and stuff like that, so maybe Germany has exceptional service or something like that, but I have to say Japanese service is absurd how good it is, how punctual, how polite, how considerate, how everything is just of an incredible high quality here when it comes to service. And I can say that goes from the little things, like if you were to say, for example, you went to McDonald's, it's not uncommon for them to bow to you when you get your burger. And that always blew me away. I've always joked with my friends that if I ever return to Canada, I'm really going to miss that. I'm going to demand it in Canada. I'll be like, you bow to me? I just bought a Big Mac. Which is why I say that kind of level seems absurd to me. Bowing in itself seems so formal, but then someone would bow for your burger just seems so crazy. Other examples, in the handling of money, there's so much respect shown for the money that you've handed over to someone in Japan. The basic example is that money is put in a tray, not handed directly, or if it is, it's very, very rare that would happen. Shows a certain additional amount of respect for your handing over of money for the whole transaction in itself. And they'll always do this, like, it's not real fancy, it wouldn't be hard to learn, but they always count back your change to you and will do like this very, almost like a performance to show you your correct change is returned to you. It's incredible. And that's something, those are small little details, and then as you start to move up the chain, it gets higher and higher and higher in terms of what you can expect from service. It really is defined in Japan what true good service is. When I've been to, although there's still snakes in the grass in some of their business practice, but at least they're the most polite snake you've ever met when you go to get a cell phone. Always super, super polite. So that's me just grazing over briefly the good side of it. That is the good side of it. Also, the good side for the consumer is that unlike Canada, there isn't this rampant, out of control tipping culture. They have no tipping. None whatsoever. I've been inebriated once or twice and insisted on giving them the tip, but when I give them that, then they've often given me something else. It's like to counterbalance that I've given them money, they'll give me another drink or something. They're like, oh no, it's on the house though. I was like, I see what you did there. That's very sneaky. So that's better and better and better, and I really enjoy it. When I've gone to get haircuts, my God, the service there is just incredible. You always get drink service, you get a massage. They're always like very, very thorough in terms of what haircut you want to pick out. It's top notch. Granted, I've never done a lot of expensive haircuts back home, and these aren't too expensive. It's like $40 when I've gone and gotten this level of service. But it's very, very good. It's very good. I'm trying to think of other examples of it. I think McDonald's shows it the best, that you could go in for something that costs $3 and someone would bow to you for that. Is incredible. Now, the negative side that I see to it is this, and it's this sort of weird how Japan, because it's so polite and so hierarchical, that it ends up kind of working backwards at times. So it's that, here's the thing, in Canada, regardless of tipping, regardless of anything, and I would think anywhere in North America, I would guess in the UK as well, that because someone is serving you, the powers that be, the people above you who've raised you, who if they've done a good job of it, have told you to be especially polite to the people who serve you, because they're helping you. So you should show a special appreciation for that fact. And so I always try and be extra polite to servers, so on and so forth, or anything, like I say, for any form of service that you are receiving. And you would think in a hyper polite culture like Japan that this would be the case, and it's not. It's not as though people go out of their way to be rude to people in the service industry, but the thing that seems strange to me is this, that the Japanese have so many levels of politeness to their language. The most polite, I believe, is keigo, and that's when you'll always hear the endings of verbs end in mas. So it would be like, if you said, what would be a good example? I'm trying to think. If you said, I'm going to eat, or I will eat, you would say, tabemasu. And that's the very formal, like, oh, he's going to eat, and he said it real nice. But the basic form is taberu. So that's like the casual form between friends. And in the service industry, you as a customer are expected to speak to the service attendant in casual forms while the whole time they speak to you in keigo. And that always seems strange to me. I understand it's because you are in the quote-unquote superior position of the customer, but it really, it creates this this break between you and the person who's serving you, because you're immediately, for the language that you're using, putting them below you. It's not showing respect or appreciation for the fact that they're helping you. And I remember being out with a friend once, and I was buying a phone, and I was using the polite forms of stuff, whether it would be adjectives or verbs or nouns, and they corrected me afterwards and said, you really got to stop doing that. You're going to make them feel uncomfortable. And that's when it struck me how ingrained it must be, because I'm thinking in my mind, oh, I'm showing them just how much I appreciate it, but you can't beat the culture. They're so used to being, I would look at it as being spoken down to, but I guess if you're in the culture, it's not. It's just the way it's done, that when you don't behave in that way, that it feels strange for them. It would be like the king in medieval times speaking to a servant and saying, oh, would you possibly mind getting me a glass of milk? They'd be like, I'm the servant. What's wrong with you? You should hit me so I can feel, like this is a regular day and I can get on with it. Now, I've always found that that's really strange. Like I say, I couldn't totally unpack this. I'd love to speak more in depth with some Japanese friends about this and just say, so like, what is the thinking there? But I've also seen too that it's not just that they speak more casually, their attitude to people who are serving is more casual. And that to me, it seems unfair. It's like female frustration in Japan for the fact that maybe it's an extreme to say they're treated as second-rate citizens, but it is incredibly patriarchal. Don't fool yourself. It absolutely is. They would be frustrated if someone spoke down to them. They'd hate that aspect of their culture. They know it's not right. They can feel it in their heart. But when they go out to eat, you bet your ass that they're going to speak down to the server that's with you that night. And you can want to be progressive, but it's so hard to remove some aspects of your culture. And I don't know. I'm not making this to say I have one side of it. Mostly I'm just impressed with the service. More power to it. I absolutely love it. I love not tipping. Amazing. Where in Canada, like the base minimum now has become something like 10%, where that used to be a good solid tip if you tip somebody, where now that's almost like a slap in the face if you don't tip them 20%. And to me, it's just sort of negligence that has been built in over time from restaurants not properly paying their employees. I know that Australia pays a much higher wage to their employees as opposed to there being so much of a tipping culture. But I don't know in Japan. I want to believe that there's a sort of service cost built in and they get paid as much as they should because they are providing this service. But that's more questions I would have to ask of people. So if you're coming to Japan, prepare yourself for the best service that you've ever had. It's no exaggeration, because it's pretty good in Canada, but it couldn't hold a candle to what you will find here in every way, shape, and form. It's amazing. So enjoy it when you come. or dream of it and then come. Okay, so if you enjoy videos about this kind of cultural detail, please do, tap that like button. Please do comment. Please do please subscribe. Don't just describe anything. Talk about maybe service experiences in your culture versus service experiences in another culture. It doesn't have to be Japan. I'm just curious. What is service culture like? Someone can now inform me that Germany actually has the best service in the world. I don't think France does. Do you know that there's actually, this is a funny little tag on, there's like a medical condition described for Japanese people who, for what they're sold while they're in Japan, their view of Paris and going over to France, that they have a culture shock so bad that it can cause sickness in them because they're not used to, they're like, man, these people can be so rude. What about all the ads that I watched? What happened? So yeah, there's an actual like medical term in Japan for people who go to France and then have such a culture shock where they didn't get quite the politeness that they expected. But yeah, talk about your cultural experiences with service. And maybe if you're already in Japan, talk about that as well. Good or bad. Let's unearth all of it. Okay, thanks for checking out the video. Please do check out my Let's Play channel if you're into to games, because I'm doing a lot of gaming. That's worth checking out, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Ciao for now. Peace.